France, the land of fine wine, art, and revolution, now holds a shocking record. It has the highest government spending share in the entire world, at nearly 57% of its GDP. In simpler terms, the French government is the economy. But behind the charm of Parisian cafes and retirement dreams lies a financial time bomb that could shake Europe, and possibly the world. If you care about how nations collapse, or how the decisions of today can destroy tomorrow, then stay till the end. Because what's happening in France isn't just their story. It's a warning for every nation, and for anyone serious about understanding real economic power and change. The state that became too generous for decades. France built one of the most generous welfare systems on earth. A system where the state promised to take care of everyone, from healthcare to pensions, from education to endless benefits. But generosity without balance breeds dependency, and now that generosity is eating France alive. The French pension system alone consumes a massive portion of national spending. To make it worse, France doesn't really save for these pensions. It's all pay-as-you-go, meaning today's workers pay for today's retirees, hoping someone will pay for them tomorrow. Except that someone is shrinking fast. The debt mountain nobody wants to see on paper. France's national debt is already sky high. But if you include off-balance sheet liabilities, like pension promises that haven't yet been paid, the real figure climbs toward a staggering 400% of GDP. The European Union once set a limit, 60% of GDP, but that rule is now little more than a forgotten relic. The last time France ran a budget surplus was 1980. Since then, deficits have become a national tradition. Every year, the government spends more than it earns, and every year, the gap widens. The longest retirement in the world. Here's where things get truly wild. The average French citizen enjoys nearly 25 years of retirement, the longest on earth. That's 5 more years than the average American. And unbelievably, the average French pensioner earns more than the average French worker. No other country in the world does that, but someone has to pay. And that someone is the struggling youth, overtaxed, underpaid, and increasingly frustrated. The people's rebellion against reality. When the government tried to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64, protests exploded across the country. Streets filled with fire, strikes paralyzed cities, and the message was clear: touch our pensions and we'll burn the system. But here's the irony. 64 is still one of the lowest retirement ages in the world. The French value their work-life balance, and rightly so. Yet that very balance is becoming economically unsustainable. Across the Atlantic, Americans may work harder, longer, and die sooner, but they also produce more wealth. Meanwhile, Europe's comfort-first culture comes at a hidden price: slower growth, heavier taxes, and now, looming collapse. Too much of a good thing. A welfare state is noble until it becomes a black hole. The French pension deficit is now devouring funds that should go to schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Think about it. Pensions consume 30% of France's education budget. That's more than what's spent on both primary and secondary education combined. And despite record spending, 57% of GDP, the average citizen complains of fewer trains, longer hospital waits, and decaying roads. It's a cruel paradox. France spends more than almost anyone, yet many feel poorer than ever. The myth of the wealth. Tax desperate for solutions, politicians proposed a 2% wealth tax on fortunes above 100 million euros. Sounds fair, right? Tax the rich, fix the problem. Except, even if it worked perfectly, it would raise just 20 billion euros a year. That's pocket change compared to the 350 billion euros France spends annually on pensions. And that's if the wealthy don't just pack up and move to Monaco or Belgium, which many already have. The generational divide. The French baby boomers struck the jackpot. They contributed little, received a lot, and then lowered the retirement age for themselves. Meanwhile, young people are paying the price. Today, 16% of French youth live below the poverty line. Rent is unbearable, jobs are scarce, and hope is fading. When inflation hit, the government raised pensions by 5.3% to protect the elderly, costing another 14 billion euros. But wages for workers? They barely moved. In modern France, the old have become kings, while the young can barely afford a room. A nation growing older, in weaker back in 1981, France had 5 million pensioners. Today, there are 17 million. By 2050, there will be 23 million. That's almost half the adult population retired. Economically, it's a nightmare. Fewer workers, more dependents, and less growth. Japan faced the same fate decades ago, an aging society, slowing economy, and mounting debt. France is now walking that same path, the silver lining. But it's not all doom and gloom. France isn't bankrupt yet, and it's not unfixable. Inflation is under control. Much of France's debt is held domestically, not by foreign investors, and the European Central Bank has vowed to do whatever it takes to avoid another bond meltdown. Still, any rescue would come with painful strings attached: spending cuts, tax hikes, and structural reforms. The real problem: no growth borrowing isn't evil if it builds the future. But France isn't borrowing to innovate, it's borrowing to maintain comfort. That's the real danger. Debt spent on pensions and welfare doesn't create jobs, growth, or industries. And as the population ages, revenues shrink, while expenses explode. It's like slowly boiling a frog, tolerable for years, deadly in the end. Beyond pensions, the deeper wound. France also spends 211 billion euros every year on subsidies, trying to prop up companies and industries instead of reforming them. That's money that could go to innovation, AI, or tech competitiveness. Europe's red tape and overregulation have made it nearly impossible to compete with US tech giants or Chinese exporters. Yet amid all this, France still dreams of leading in AI, cars, space, and pharmaceuticals. The ambition is there. But without painful reform, ambition alone won't save the republic. A warning from history. In 1789, the price of bread in Paris doubled, costing 80% of a worker's income. The hungry and oppressed rose up, sparking the French Revolution that changed the world forever. Today, France faces no bread shortage. But the protests, the anger, and the sense of betrayal, they feel eerily familiar. Because when citizens lose faith in the system, history has a way of repeating itself. France's fork in the road. France stands at a historic crossroad. Continue down the path of overpromising and overspending, or confront the hard truth and reform before it's too late. It's not just an economic story. It's a story about human nature, about how comfort, if unchecked, becomes decay. The question is, will France choose pain today or collapse tomorrow? If you've made it this far, it means you're one of the few who truly care about understanding change, not just watching headlines. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just consume, think, question, and act, because the fall of one great nation is a lesson for every other. If you believe knowledge can change the world, like this video, subscribe, and share it, because the truth deserves to be seen before history repeats itself.